Okay, so let's look at some interesting things here. So here's one study. One of the things you might ask yourself is, why do boys like to play with trucks and girls like to play with like stuffed animals and dolls, roughly speaking? And one answer is, well, that's socially constructed. Parents, whether they want to or not, differentially reinforce toy preferences subtly and directly, and as a consequence, that the cumulative effect of that determines what toys the children are going to play with. It's not obvious from the literature that that's the case, but that's not a theory that can explain this. So what the researchers did was take a whole variety of toys and have a number of people classify them as either feminine stereotyped or masculine stereotyped. And then they give them to a number of children to see which toys which gendered children played with. And they found that the male children tended to play with the stereotypically masculine toys, given free choice, and the female children tended to play with the female stereotype toys, given choice. Well, that doesn't have anything to do at all with the socialization hypothesis, except they did the same thing with rhesus monkeys. We compared the interactions of 34 rhesus monkeys living within a 135 monkey troop with human wheeled toys and plush toys. Male monkeys, like boys, showed consistent and strong preferences for wheeled toys, while female monkeys, like girls, showed greater variability in preferences. Thus, the magnitude of preference for wheeled over plush toys differed significantly between males and females. The similarities to human findings, the top graph, by the way, is human subjects and the bottom graph is monkey subjects. On the left you see males. The black bar is masculine toys, and on the right you see females, where the black bar is masculine toys. Now what you see is the females are more likely to play with masculine and feminine toys, although they slightly prefer feminine toys, whereas the males overwhelmingly prefer masculine toys. The similarities to human findings demonstrate that such preferences can develop without explicit gendered socialization. We offer the hypothesis that toy preferences reflect hormonally influenced behavioral and cognitive biases, which are sculpted by social processes into the sex differences seen in monkeys and humans. Janice M. Hassett was the lead author on that paper. So that's kind of a rough one. It's not obvious at all why male rhesus monkeys would want to play with wheeled toys. I mean, what the hell, right? I mean, it's not like rhesus monkeys are driving around in trucks, you know, so it's not exactly clear why these differences exist. When you're thinking about how they're responding to plush toys, you know, those are basically pseudo-infants. So that's kind of an easier thing to understand, especially because we know that the hallmarks of cuteness, which is the stimuli that are necessary to evoke basically a maternal response, the hallmarks of cuteness are pretty much stable across mammals, which is why people think kittens are cute, and you know, and well, any little baby thing is cute, and the reason for that is big eyes and little nose, and it sort of moves helplessly, it has short limbs, and all of that sort of adds up to cute, and cute is a very powerful set of triggering stimuli. So if it wasn't, obviously, children who were playing with little, like, plush bears wouldn't baby them, you know, because obviously a plush bear is not a baby, but it's similar enough to a baby schematically that it automatically evokes those sorts of responses, you know. And when my daughter used to have this stuffed toy, and it was a cat, and I used to play with that cat, and one thing I used to do with it is you could actually push its head inside its little plush body, you know. She did not find that the least bit amusing. So that's a difference in masculine and feminine play patterns there too. So, you know, she knew perfectly well that this thing couldn't be hurt. But that wasn't the issue, you know. The behavioral responses that it evoked were part of a set, you know, and it was perfectly healthy of her to be responding as if this thing was deserving of care and compassion. She was practicing doing that. It's a very important thing to do. It needs practice. You might think that the classical human body type is female. So in some sense, every creature, human creature, starts out with a prototypically female body structure. And even though there's chromosomal differences between the two sexes. And what happens is that masculinization occurs as a consequence of fetal testosterone. And there's a lot of variation in fetal testosterone from male fetus to male fetus. And some of Cohen's work has demonstrated quite clearly that fetal testosterone levels are very much associated with post-birth masculine behaviors. And one of the things he's found out, for example, he believes that autism is hypermasculinity. Because he's found that the fetal boys who are hyper-masculinized are much more likely to become autistic. And one of the things that's interesting about autistic kids, there are autistic females as well, by the way, but most of them are male, is that the most fundamental lack they seem to have is the lack of ability to engage in any sort of social contact whatsoever. So they don't make eye contact. And boys, by the way, boy babies make less eye contact than girl babies. The autistic kids, they don't make hardly any eye contact at all, and they have a very difficult time establishing any kind of social relationship. Now, this study is kind of interesting. So it was published in